Okay, hey everybody. Got Maverick. This guy is a character from the Weapon X titles and from the X-Men. You may or may not know him. I always thought this armor was ridiculous when I was younger, and I found out about him the first time when I first discovered him. I was like, that's stupid. And the reason is because he's got all these weapons and all this armor, and the top of his head's open. I mean, you're just asking to get your head, capped off if that's the case in a confrontation because of that. But it works. I mean, he fights it. Your chin and your top of your nugget, if that's the way you're going to do it. But otherwise, this is a really, really deep character because he's got a lot of history with the Weapon X program. Has had his memory wiped and all that. And believe it or not, long before the Winter Soldier came along, in the Captain America title, this guy was the first one to have his memory wiped, along with Wolverine and a couple of other people that were in the Weapon X program. So this guy's got a lot of history still to be told, believe it or not, even though he's had his own series for a while and made numerous appearances in Lord knows how many comic books over the years. This guy is always one to pop up right when you least expect him. And I love the way Marvel's actually handled this character, because what ends up happening is he comes up when you need a major arc villain or catalyst for a Weapon X or X-Men based story. They pull this dude out of the drawer and say, okay, it's time to rattle him up. And that's what they do with him. And they've utilized him in that way. A really, really, really good, strong, balanced storyline and longevity for the character to do that. Because I think they've wiped his memory now 3 times. And one of the last 2 times that I saw was Wolverine electrocuting him and killing off his memory that way. But this dude's got a lot going on. Nobody really knows a lot about him. But, you think you do, but then you don't. Because you never know what personality rebrand you're going to get whenever they reboot him. That's what makes him so fascinating. You never know what you're going to get. So, it's like that X-Men run, late 90s, early 2000s. There was a run where Sabretooth finally got shucked in the head by Psylocke's blade. And she brought him down. And that's when he became Creed and became friends with Boom Boom for a while, which is now, she goes back and forth from Boom Boom and Boomer all the time as one of the new X-Men, and they keep rebooting her, but that's a side tangent for another time. But for the most part, they wiped out Sabretooth's memory for a while with that accident. And, sometimes he would have it and be faking it. Sometimes he would lose it again and whatnot. And they kept him in the X-Mansion at the time. And you never knew what you were going to get with that story. I loved that storyline. Joe Modiara drew a lot of that in his X-Men run. He had a lot of that story go through his stuff. And I really, really loved it. And to me, this incarnation looks like an old Iron Man mask with a mustache painted on the front of it. But I know I keep picking at the character, and it's like, why draw him if you're going to pick at him? Well, it's because of the fact that the diversity of the character is what makes him so intriguing to draw. Is because of the fact that if I'm not a fan of the character as much as most of the people are, I still need to be able to draw it for professional purposes and push through that. So it's okay not to like a character and still produce it and still give it quality in life and respect. So even if I'm a fan or not, it doesn't matter. I could end up drawing any kind of characters that I don't like, but I still deserve, or they still deserve the respect as creations, just like I want for my own comics and my own creations. So You know, the lesson there is if you're learning about comics, definitely pay attention to that. You may have to draw stuff you don't like sometimes. And if it gets the job done and gets you the credibility you need, go for it. Me personally, this is a learning process for me too. As I draw these characters for you guys, I'm putting out a lot of characters that I don't normally read or like, and this forces me to do raw case studies on them to see how I would do if I had to draw them. So that's part of why I do what I do with these cards. It's really easy to get into that and figure out what's going on with the way things are drawn. And I highly suggest if you have a problem with drawing certain characters, you know, you're like, well, I only want to draw Marvel, or I only want to draw DC, or I only want to draw Image. Well, you know, you may have to do another job through some of those other companies later on. And if you get work from one or the other, they all work together. And if you don't want to work with one of them because you don't like that brand, be very cautious about that, because you could get yourself into trouble, you know. Like I said about Diamond yesterday, and I'm not going to open that can of worms again. It's just, you know, if you know there's a monopoly going on and you know there's a problem in the industry, talk about it. But don't disrespect anybody. I mean, they have a right to do the business they want to do and the right that they want to do it as. But in the same token, though, I don't respect that ethic. So, you know, I have a problem with it. But I don't go around, you know, blatantly frying them up. It just depends if it's a topic or not. What I was suggesting yesterday, for example, was the fact that we need to change the industry. If it doesn't suit our needs, we need it to be suiting our needs, so we need to change it. I'm not saying go after Diamond. I'm not saying go after previews. I'm not saying go after Comixology. I'm saying don't deal with those people if they don't fit the need of what you need them to do in your work. So same thing with drawing any particular characters. If you're drawing the character and you don't like it, it's going to show in your work if you don't put up a professional front and say, okay, I've got to draw this character and I'm going to make this work. So if you're looking for a lesson on art there, that's the best way I can tell you how to do it, is go in and do the work and get out. You know, go on to the next project. I get like that sometimes about projects that I'll be freelanced on, and it'll be like, really? And, you know, I'll get a bad issue script or, you know, a slow script or whatever, and I'm in the mood for something action-oriented, or it won't make sense to me. It'll click and won't make sense to me. That's just intense when that happens, because you never know what you're going to get out of it. Because if you're not in it, you got to be on point or you're going to end up making a mess. Same thing with dealing with bad clients too. Don't be afraid to fire your clients. You know, if the book sucks and it doesn't live up to what they say it's going to do, drop it. You know, I'm not saying cut out on the job and leave them hanging. I'm saying if they're disrespectful to you and they're unprofessional, get rid of them. Don't work with them anymore. If they breach contract, get rid of them. If they don't want to negotiate things, and if they're hostile or treat you like you're a paid slave, get rid of them. Move on to the next one. I've done that to a couple of clients because of the fact that they'll say, you know, hey, man, I'm going to pay you this much money. And I say, okay. And I work on my sliding scale and give them that. And all of a sudden they're calling me at 3 o'clock in the morning. Hey, man, where's my pages? You know, I want my book done already. I paid you so-and-so to do it. Well, we agreed to this deadline and we agreed to this outcome and we agreed to this position. And you can't be calling me up like that because of the fact that I've got other clients. You're not my only client. So be professional about it and handle it. You know, I've been seeing a lot of people blow up, and you can't do that, you know. You can't be blowing up at people and taking them out on social media and whatnot and trashing them, because that makes you look like you're unprofessional because you can't handle your business in a proper way to get your stuff done, and makes people wonder why that creator's not working with you anymore. Also, it throws back on, you know, the other side of disrespecting whoever, you know, the other end of the project is. Don't do that. That's very unprofessional. I'm just burning through this lead here. I've snapped it off like 6 times. I've got a weak one here, and it's just I'm popping it every time I move. That's why I keep popping it out and grinding away here. Okay, gotta thicken that line up because that's where his collar drops off. But yeah, like I was saying about the armor, I always thought that was funny because of the fact that it would go in and go down, and then all of a sudden, he'd be just totally covered and secure and whatnot. And yes, I switched to subjects back to the artwork. Like I said, I don't want to go on a tangent about the other. This character just has this phenomenal head-to-toe armory and armor and all that good stuff. And then the top of his nuggets open. I always wondered why nobody bashed him in the head. Because he never protected himself. He always ran in like a bull in a china closet. I just once wanted somebody, him run in somewhere and be all, game on and whatnot, and somebody get close to him and just thump him on the head. Like Wolverine. Wolverine never cracked him in the head. An adamantium-coated elbow would just take this guy to the ground. But did he ever touch him? No. And they would go cuff to cuff, toe to toe all the time. Especially in the Weapon X books, because this was one of the 3 guys that they actually always sent after Logan. And that was a title I was a huge fan of. I just kind of noticed something funny though. My incarnation of the Maverick mask, it looks like Iron Man with a mustache. It's okay, I see it too. Nobody's coming after me after it. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I appreciate the respect there. But yeah, that's I think it's the eyes, the way I made them the Iron Man style slits rather than taking them down to eyes like he has, like it's a soft mask. But sorry, metal masks don't function that way. They have locked eye slits, and that's where they go. Now, whenever you go in for armor, here's something I give to tips to people all the time because of this right here. Overdraw your width of your edge just a little bit, and then go into that overlay line like right here, and draw over just a little, and then make that rectangle right there, and it'll make that ridge. Boom, you're done. 3-dimensional look. Awesome. Very simple. And if you guys missed the weekend live cards because of SDCC or you just not being on the weekend, I do these every day. Be sure to go back into my timeline, and they're public, so you can check them out. Check out the Apocalypse and the Cyclops card that I did over the weekend. There's some cool info in there. Not to mention that Apocalypse came out really smooth. That's probably one of my new favorites. Even if I do say so myself, that is probably one of my new favorites. Every once in a while, these things resonate and they just shine. Not all of them, just sometimes. And that Apocalypse card is one of them. That was a great one. It looked phenomenal. I'm very happy with it. Raise up that knuckle a little bit. There we go. Now it's starting to look like a hand. This character is an awesome character. I really dig drawing him. This is the first time I've ever drawn him since his new armor. I remember the blue and orange armor that he had there for a long time. And there was a classic yellow armor back in the 90s, which this one's loosely based on. He looked like a tank, but still always had the top of the nugget open. I'm not sure who designed this armor, or the headgear for that matter. I mean, I'm not knocking it or anything. It's just impractical for a tactical soldier to have that kind of exposure, especially the top of his head. I mean, the number one piece of equipment, whether you wear body armor or not, even in World War I, they gave you a helmet. So I find that intriguing. A lot of ancient warriors used to take, it's been written, I've never seen them personally, of course, but it's said that a lot of ancient warriors used to go without their helmets or go without face mask. Samurai and things like that would take their head dressing off and that kind of thing to give people a vulnerable spot to attack them and draw attention from them for a distraction from their enemies. I don't think that would be a wise idea, especially, I mean, even this guy goes toe-to-toe with weapons, discharging weapons like guns. So I don't think I would want to go head-to-head with somebody with a sword with a bare nugget if that was the case. I think I would want to keep my brain bucket on so that I could keep that blade from hitting me in the head. I've had, experience in law enforcement as well as martial arts, so I guarantee you I'm not going to go jacking with somebody with a sword swinging at my head. But anyway, I just find that fascinating. And it's, as you can tell, it's a bug in my ointment because of that. Because I keep talking about it and going back to it. But yep. There he is. There's the back of the shoulder ball. Which he's got his arm raised up this way so it'd lay underneath that for the foreshortening. I went with the futuristic weaponry, the kind of Weapon X and X-Force weapons kind of deal that you would have with a Rob Liefeld or, a Mark Silvestri type of scenario where these guys were making up all these fictional weapons. At the time, I thought it would be suiting for Maverick to look that way. Now I'm going to cut this off right here. I overdrew this just a little bit so that I could come in and cut that off. And now I've got the bottom of the gun. So that really pops off, as you can see there. Now, for you guys checking this out today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you something special that I'm working on. I have a commission piece that I am building up for a friend of mine, and you may or may not recognize these. Let me give it a chance to get into focus. My camera's trying to jump on me because I moved it. There we go. Now, this is the world's finest trio. It's going to be, so let the camera catch up again. It's going to be Superman up top up here. And then it's got Wonder Woman and Batman. So it's 11 by 17 commission. Um, it's going to have a nice black trim around it. That's going to go out this week. I get asked all the time, what else do you work on other than these cards? This is what I work on, and my comic books, of course. But yeah, I'm doing that for a buddy of mine, and if you guys want commission, I'm not soliciting or anything, but if you want commissions, I get asked all the time. I am doing commissions now. If you want to have something done, let me know, and I'll see what I can do about hooking you up. It depends on my schedule as to what you ask for, and how much you can afford as to what size you get. So, just let me know, and I'll work it out with you and make it happen, at least for the next month or two. I'll be putting out a couple of spots. Probably between now and, I figure between now and Halloween, I'll be doing them, and then I'll stop. Because the fall season is going to be heavy with my comic books, because that's where I build up all my stocks. And then I maintain and regulate throughout the year through client projects and whatnot, as well as whatever's on board at the time. But I like to seriously dig in between October and January to where I lay out everything, have my year done and whatnot, and all that. So I'm going to leave this one here. Well, I am going to cut that up a little bit. Now, I'm going to leave that there. Call that done. We have Maverick. Hope you guys dig it. Thanks for hanging out with me. Let me grab the list here and see what we've got for tomorrow. Where are we? We have Ant-Man tomorrow. That'll be a cool one. Ant-Man's going to be awesome. Since the movie came out, it will be the Scott Lang version. Henry Pym might be in there. I don't know if I'll add him on or not, but it definitely will be the Scott Lang version of Ant-Man for you guys tomorrow. So thanks for hanging out with me. I hope you enjoy it, and talk to you tomorrow.